Good evening, everyone. It is, oh God, it is 2 minutes after the hour of 7 p.m. here on the East Coast and 2 minutes after the hour of 4 p.m. on the West Coast. Good evening and welcome to Spiritual Circle Gathering, where we meet every Thursday between the hours, as I said, of 7 p.m. and from 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. I want to thank you all very much for listening and for tuning in. This is the final exam. This is it. Everything you learned, everything you processed, everything, all of the information that was presented to you, you've read, you've studied, you've kept journal, you've done everything you were supposed. You did your part. You have done your part, and now it's time for the answers. So for the last 12 weeks, I have presented answers. We have walked down this valley together. But you see, this is an exam, which means that I don't do too much talking tonight. I'm not trying to put anybody on the spot, but we do know what exam means, and I do know I can see the monitor. I don't know what numbers you're calling from, but I do see the monitor, and I do see that people are there. And so, since this is a test, and this is the final, then is it too much of an expectation to expect for individuals to call in with their answers? So not only do we have the 10 questions, but I also have 4 more questions that come out of the book, The Magic of Believing. So even though I did not post those questions on purpose, but if it helps, it comes under the mirror technique. There's a chapter on the mirror technique. Okay, and so that is where we are this evening. This is where we are this evening. Okay, so let us begin. Let me make sure that yep, and there's no muting there. And let me come over here to make sure that the picture is okay. All right, we're ready. First of all, I want to say thank you very much for all of you for your support, for being here, for being present, and just being here, just being on the line means a lot to me. It really, really means a lot to me. And I want to say in advance, thank you very much. Now, where are we? I have an agenda, and I'm going to follow this agenda word for word. I'm going to follow the bouncing board, follow the bouncing ball. As a matter of fact, I'm going to screen share the bouncing ball. Thing of it is, there are answers there. But I'm smart enough not to allow you to see the answers. Okay, so what you're supposed to be looking at, I've already welcomed everyone, and you know that this is of Science of Mind final exam, and our 10 questions are posted on, I believe, page 177 of our primary text, and then there will be 4 other questions coming out of Claude Bristol's book, The Magic of Believing. And as I said, it will be under the questions out of that book will come from the chapters, the mirror work, MIRROR work. Okay, first of all, let us begin with a treatment prayer. Treatment prayer. One God, one love. We are one with one God, one love. This day I declare peace of mind everywhere on this planet, peace of mind, with the assurance that all is already worked out as it should be, as it ought to be, as part of the divine plan. I release my word to the action of the law, knowing that it's already worked out because we don't, I'm not talking to an empty space. I'm not talking to I'm not talking to a nothingness. I'm talking to the great allness of all there is. I release and then I rejoice in advance, knowing through faith and belief, I choose to release and with faith, knowing that all is worked out. And I say hallelujah because it's all worked out. Amen. All right, let's get started. And let me tell you something. The clinical social worker in me, I'm trained to sit and just wait. I am. I am very comfortable waiting on an answer. It's okay with me. So you don't have to be nervous. There's nothing to be afraid of. Okay? There are no wrong answers. It's all about us helping each other. Number one, explain why we prefer to use the term heal rather than cure. Explain why we prefer to use the term heal rather than cure. The mics are open. Just in case you're tuning in, the question proposed is, explain why we prefer to use the term heal rather than cure. And then I said that because this is a final exam, that I will not be doing any talking. So now the floor is open, and I'm waiting on your response. I'm waiting for someone who knows the answer to speak up. Number 2, explain why thought has power. Explain why thought has power. Again, just in case you're tuning in, this is the final exam. Those of you that have sat through an exam, you know that the instructor, or the whatever it is, whatever word you want to use for me, does not give out answers. Okay? So, if you're just tuning in, we're on number 2, question 2. Explain why thought has power. Number 3, why does power flow to the focus of attention, and what is the significance of this? It's a 2-part question. Why does power flow to the focus of attention, and what is the significance of this? Number 4, explain. It looks like it's going to end early tonight. Explain fully and clearly the creative process in the infinite and in ourselves, using the charts or comparisons and all means possible for absolute clarity. That one, I may bail you out only because it's asking for charts and comparisons. So if you are not on the Google Hangout, then you won't be able to see. But I'm not going to do anything for the next 5 minutes. Explain fully the creative process in the infinite and in ourselves. The creative process in God and in ourselves. Think about it. There are no wrong answers. And just think about it. Oops, I'm sorry, I'm sharing this thing. Number 5. What is a treatment? Not how, what? Oh, by the way, this is an oral exam. Maybe I didn't make that clear. This is an oral exam. Okay. Number 5. What is a treatment? What is a treatment? Number 6. How can we gain a sense of authority in treatment? How can we gain a sense of authority in treatment? Not what, not how. I'm sorry, not what, but how can we gain a sense of authority in treatment? This is an oral exam. For those of you, for the benefit of you, I will do the following. Okay, first of all, this is an oral exam. The first question presented: explain why we prefer to use the term heal rather than cure. I'm doing this for the benefit of those that may have arrived a few minutes late. Number 2, why? Explain why thought has power. Explain how thought explain why thought has power. Number 3, why does power flow to the focus of attention? And what is the significance of this? Why does power flow to the focus of attention? And what is the significance of this? Number 4, explain fully and clearly the creative process in the infinite and in ourselves. Explain fully and clearly the creative process in the infinite is, and in ourselves, using the charts which I have and comparisons and all means possible for clarity. Moving on to number 5, what is a treatment? What is a treatment? Excuse me. Number 6, how can we gain a sense of authority in treatment? Now, this is an easy one. How can we gain a sense of authority in treatment? For those of you that are just joining, we are in the middle of a final exam, and this is an oral exam. An oral exam, meaning we are to verbally answer the questions. They're not difficult questions because we've studied the questions and everything's been presented. Number 7, list and comment on at least 5 practical points in treatment. list and comment on at least 5 practical points in treatment. Number 8, the assignment was to write a treatment for yourself or for another person or any condition using any method. I used the method with the 7 steps, the 7-step process. That's the one I used. Oops, I just said I gave you an answer. Number 8, write a treatment for yourself or another person for any condition using any method. This is very good work for me because I can actually sit here and remain quiet. And quietness shall be my strength. Number 9. Why is it significant? Why is it important that Infinite Mind is the knower of all times in our lives? Why is it significant that Infinite Mind is the knower at all times in our lives, and specifically in treatment? Oops. I got the answer there. Why is it significant? Why? That the Infinite Mind is the knower at all times in our lives, and specifically in treatment. Number 10, it's a 2-part question. What does a healing consciousness mean to you? How can one proceed to cultivate its influence? What does a healing consciousness mean to you? How can one proceed to cultivate the influence of a healing consciousness? Okay. Now, before I move forward, because this is moving forward, it's going to do. For the benefit of those of you that have your answers, but you were shy and didn't want to talk, reasons. Okay, let's do it this way. Let's do it this way. Okay. So let's stop. Just whatever you're doing, stop. Number one. And again, for those of you that may very well be tuning in, as you know, this is a final exam. And what you heard me doing was asking questions. This is an oral exam. Maybe I didn't ought to have put on there, or to have placed on the notice there, the announcement, that this was an oral exam. Anyway, the first question is, explain why we prefer to use the term heal rather than cure. My answer, or whatever its worth is, we use the term, Bale says that we use the term heal rather than cure because the body and the creative process is ongoing. So we may very well have to treat more than once for the situation, for the condition. So he prefers to use the term heal rather than cure. Number two, explain why thought has power. The degree of oneness between the healing source and the individual determines the extent of manifestation. A close connection in thought explains the perfect flow of the infinite. It explains the perfect flow of infinite power through him or her. The student can bring herself to think in agreement with infinite thinking. Infinite thinking will determine the power that accompanies your work. This is also in congruence with the power of speaking with authority. For whatever reason, I chose to review chapter 2. Why? Because the question is, why thought has power here? Why thought has power? Thought has power because we are connected to the infinite thinker, the all-knower. That is page 19. What is spiritual thinking? Spiritual thinking is that method of thought that brushes aside the surface, physical, apparent interpretation of things and it sees into the spiritual reality beneath. In other words, that which is seen is temporary, and that which is not seen is eternal. Number 3, the first fundamental for successful treatment. What is the first fundamental? The first fundamental for treatment, for successful treatment, is never say a thing about yourself that you do not want to see realized in your life. Do not say I'm broke. Do not say I'm not doing well. Do not say any of those things. You say what you want to see made manifest in your life. You either say something positive or you don't say anything and you simply think positive thoughts. Next, number 3. Why does power flow to the focus of attention? And what is the significance of this? Power flowing through that thought about ourselves will manifest. Keeping past failures at the center of our attention, power flowing to that thought will keep failure in our life, and then we are thrown out of tune with creative flow. So the primary goal is to stay focused and maintain. When we maintain focus, okay, and whatever it is we're focused on, then that's where our attention goes. And where our attention goes, then we follow. So we want to always maintain focus on something positive at all times. Possible explanation for question 3. Did I do that already? Yes. Explain fully and clearly, says, in the infinite and in ourselves, using charts, comparisons, and all means possible for absolute clarity. So, this is what I have. Some of you have already seen it. Review chapters 1 through 3. Chapter 1, the important difference in the functions of the 2 phases of your mind, page 3, 4, and 5. 1. Surface mind. I choose. It chooses by way of either thoughts, external stimuli. Surface mind is always aware or conscious of its choices. Number 2 would be the deeper mind, the creator, the manufacturer, and or the obedient servant. Deeper mind is most reliable for bringing thought into form. And so it is with the loom of the mind. It is impersonal. It has no choice but to weave whatever threads or thoughts that we have given it. I have further diagrams for the creative process in the infinite and in ourselves. So, for example, use the threefold nature of the infinite, and the example that I used is water, H2O. 4 substances, F-O-U-R, substances, each different names, a diversity of names, forms, and functions for the same thing. So first of all, we have the water cycle. The water cycle, it's condensation. Okay, everything is condensed into the cloud. Then we have precipitation, which is in the form of rain. Okay, Then there is a collection of, well, actually I started in the wrong place. There's a collection of water here on the earth. We have oodles and oodles of oceans, lakes, government cuts. We've got the Gulf. We've got oceans galore, lakes. So we have a collection of water here on the earth. And so that water is evaporated, and it goes and it ascends to the sky, and it forms clouds by way of condensation, comes down as precipitation and rain, and that's the water cycle. So that's one. Number two, another form of water, another characteristic of water could be ice. From water, we have ice. You have a ice maker in your refrigerator, or you buy ice, or however way you end up with ice, it comes from, as we know, water. Number three, we have snow. Some places on the face of the earth, there is snow. Snow is water that has gone through a process, and it comes back down in a frozen form. Okay? There are many forms of snow: wet snow, dry snow, sloshy snow. There are many forms of it. My favorite is the dust snow, because all we have to do is, and there it's gone. But very seldom do we get that. The next would be the steam. So here we have a tea kettle. And of course, in the tea kettle, there's water. So we put water in the tea kettle, and we put the tea kettle with the water in it on a flame or something hot, where the water will boil. Well, when the water boils, of course, we have steam coming out. So that, in essence, is another form of water. Okay? So the question was the creative process and the individual and the infinite and in ourselves. So that's an example of a creative process. What else do I have here? Continued the creative process in the infinite. Ourselves, we have spirit, we have mind, which is the loom, we have body. Spirit, the originating intelligence, the first cause, which selects the desired forms. It is always acted on by mind. Mind, which is the loom, the obedient servant, which obeys the spirit. It always acts impersonally. It does not care who you are. It is not. It's not into personalities. It simply does what you tell it to do. Okay. And then the third aspect of the triune, for lack of a better term, is body. The body is primary unformed substance, and it is always acted on by mind, always acted on by the obedient servant, and the spirit is the cause, and the body is the effect. What is treatment? Treatment, according to page 157, Hidden Power for Human Problems, a treatment is a conscious setting in motion spiritual law in a definite direction to produce a specific effect. The physical condition is thought taking form. The spiritual practitioner traces it back to thought and treats the thought. We're not trying to influence or change the thought of another. Treatment is for the purpose of convincing ourselves that the sick or defeated person has a false viewpoint on life, and that we are presenting the true state of affairs, that they are not sick, that they are not, it's not about curing because there's no sick. It's simply healing. You're healing. You're healing the person. You're healing the cause. So the effect will come out much more positive. The quotation from the desk of Dr. Bales with the fundamental truth that the person for whom we are treating is a perfect idea in the mind of God. And our whole procedure during a treatment is intended to remove from our own mind or picture of imperfection or sickness. So it is about healing the thought and not curing, because there's nothing to cure. We are perfect, whole, and complete. So what we are doing is treating the thought. Number 6, how can we gain a sense of authority in treatment? Oh, by the way, you can ask, you can make comments, you can do, the floor is open. This is the final now, so let it all hang out. Number 6, how can we gain a sense of authority in treatment? Well, there is to be no uncertainty in treatment. The student must develop within themselves a clear concept of what goes on during a treatment. They must have knowledge, power, and conviction of their ability. The student's treatment must be a statement of his or her belief and knowing, because knowing is higher than belief. Gaining a sense of authority in treatment. What is the foundation for authority? What is the definition of authority? The right to control, command. It is a power or right that is delegated, entrusted, or given to the practitioner or the student. Authority comes through knowing. People notice authority in the way we speak. There is an inward sense of being knowledgeable. Spoken. A speaker who has experience in what he or she is talking about. There is a difference in power when a person really knows what they are talking about. I'm going to speed it up because I've got 4 questions from another book. Number 7, list and comment on at least 5 practical points in treatment. I think I listed 7. 1, relaxation, relaxing the mind. 2, well, it's relaxation. 2, recognition, realizing that you're not speaking into a void, okay, that you are surrounded by an ocean of creative mind of the universe, and that the mind has the ability and willingness to create perfect health because it is the servant of spirit. Number 3, relationship. There must be a conscious unification with this one mind. We must know. We must know that we know that we ourselves, the one being treated for, is the one mind and all one with a great whole, and it's never any separate. There is never any separation. Never. Number 4, reasoning. Doubts must be swept away before any treatment can be successful. According to the law of harmony, nothing can be. According to the law of harmony, nothing in one part of God's body would wish harm to any other part of the body. Everything in the universe cooperates. 5, realization. We know that we know that we know. Release. We free ourselves. The Father in me, it is He that doeth the work. 7, rejoice. You give thanks. You believe, and you believe that that which you have spoken is carried out. Spoken. The power is in the spoken word. 8, write a treatment. I have a treatment, but if I read what I wrote, it would take us into overtime. But we know about relaxation. We know about recognition. We know about relationships. We know about reasoning. And we know about realization, release, and rejoicing. I'm not going to read mine. I'm not going to read my treatment only because of the law of broadcasting, the law of keeping my lips shut. I believe that we even had, it was a mention of keeping the door of our lips shut. So I'm not going to tell you what mine is. Number nine. Why is it significant that infinite mind is the knower at all times in our lives, and specifically in treatment? Because the mind of the universe is one indivisible unit. All of it is present wherever our attention is focused. Number 10. It's a double question. A, what does a healing consciousness mean? And B, how can one proceed to cultivate its influence? What does a conscious healing mean to you? This is for me. Healing consciousness is the awareness that there is a restorative force within, that there is a consciousness of self-confidence. B, how can one proceed to cultivate the influence of consciousness? Consciousness is a matter of growth in the cultivation, nurturing, and maturity of certain inward attitudes about yourself, such as developing your sense of authority. How do we do that? We do that. There is a great indwelling power and intelligence that heals by recognition of its power, of its presence. Now, I have here, excuse me, I have here I have 4 minutes. All right, so I just took the lesson on the chapter about mirror work, MIRROR. So he says, Bristol says, in The Magic of Believing, okay, he says, take some cards, index cards, because when he was in the military, he didn't have any money. All he had was what they gave him, and so he would see individuals that smoked cigarettes. He liked to smoke cigarettes. He would see individuals that was chewing gum. He liked to chew gum. Then there was another analogy that he used. He was on a cruise ship, and the cruise ship before, he imagined himself that he was in a certain part of the ship, the higher class, the upscale part. Then he was on another ship, and so he imagined himself being in the part of the ship that is upper class. So he ended up sitting at the table of the captain, because he stood in the mirror from the waist up, and he talked to himself, and he guided himself, and he gave himself self-esteem. So what he says is, he took some cards, index cards, and he says, write your desire on the cards. Write a word picture and place these cards around your house, in the car. And he said, you read these cards. The first thing you are to see in the morning when you wake up is the card with whatever it was you wrote on it. That's the first thing. The last thing you see before you close your eyes is whatever it was you wrote on that card. It is the power of suggestion. Okay? Then then throughout the day, you stand in the mirror. Like right now, I'm talking, I have a mirror right here. And so I'm talking to you, and I'm talking to myself by way of this mirror. This mirror is to help me to have more authority in my voice. This mirror is going to help me. This exercise is going to help me to move from point A to point B. And the objective is the surface mind is going to is telling the deeper mind more authority, speak with more authority, okay? Because I know I'm capable of doing it. I'm already doing it. It's just that I'm trying to improve. So you stand in front of the mirror and you say, I will, whatever it is you want, you say, I will get whatever it is you want. Then you say, I want it. So I will get $50. I want it. I will get whatever you want. I will get it. I want it. You're getting it because you want it. So it's two sentences. I will get blank, period, because I want it. Next, this exercise gives the power of self-esteem. It increases the development, and the eyes say that you have confidence. That is another express reason for doing the exercise, because to maintain eye contact, the eyes are the windows of the soul, to the soul. So when we look at someone while we're talking to them, then number one, it appears that we know what we're talking about. And number two, we're giving ourselves and the person respect because we're talking to that person. So we're not going to look around the room. And number three, it gives us self-confidence. It gives us the appearance of self-confidence. The subconscious mind never fails to deliver, and it does follow through. Okay? There is a force, there is a science, and it is according to Bristol. There is a force, there is a science, there is an unknown. It is very little understood, but whatever it is, according to him, it is within, and it is waiting to wait on us. It is waiting to materialize that what we say we want. It is 1 minute after 8. I'm sorry I kept you so long. I hope you got something out of this 12-week series. And I also want to say thank you very much for your patience. And what else? I learned a lot. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the very presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is. This is so, and so it is. Thank you, and good night.